Welcome to Alberto's Universe. This is the Ascension Chronicles, Part 1. The subject is, what is Ascension? Be assured that if you're listening to this recording, you are ascending. I'm going to attempt to help you understand what Ascension is. This will serve as an introductory presentation for the other subjects coming relating to Ascension. To many, the Ascension process will seem magical. It will therefore be difficult to explain to your friends, loved ones. You may find it even scary at times. Not because it is scary, but because of the programming that we've had. In essence, anything that cannot be explained in simple form, we find to be magical. But think of traveling to the middle of Africa and visiting a tribe without modern technology. And visualize yourself with a modern tablet or an ebook and showing this tablet to the people there. I think you will agree that to them, the presentation, video, whatever you show them, will probably look magical. Perhaps even scary, as I said. But you know that science has provided this magic to you. The spiritual world is very much like that. It's magical. It's full of miracles, but it's also supported by science. Perhaps not the science that we learn in high school. That science is a few centuries old already. But by the most modern of sciences, which is quantum physics. So I'm going to take the angle of the science whenever I can, of the scientific understanding. And I'll do that even though we're talking of spirituality, we're talking about consciousness. I will do that because I want you to be comfortable that this is not magic, that this is like your tablet, supported by solid understanding. Because in reality, the spiritual is supported by science, and science is supported by the spiritual. The spiritual is material. The spiritual is real. So when we're talking about the ascension, what kind of ascension are we talking about? Obviously, the word ascension means to rise. We're talking about a rise in consciousness. In consciousness is our understanding of us in our life. It's how we interpret. Our consciousness is the window that we use to view everything around us, everything about us. You probably have heard that the solar system travels through the Milky Way, our galaxy, in not as a flat disk, with the sun in the middle and the planets orbiting around, but more with the sun leading the rest of the planets as it moves through the galaxy. It's important to understand that the sun is energetically, electrically connected to all the other stars in the galaxy, all of them connecting to the center of the galaxy. And this is something, by the way, that scientists have discovered, have seen, they have mapped it, they've created a three-dimensional image of this. They're all connected despite the fact that there's no visual connection. They're all electrically connected. And the sun itself is electrically connected to our planets, energetically connected to our planets. So it's all more akin to a kind of galactic bush or tree where all these branches interconnect with each other. And as the sun and its planets travel around the galaxy, the system has now entered an electron cloud. This is known, and you can see it reflected in something that is called the Schumann resonance. The Schumann resonance is the vibrational state, is a tuning of the atmosphere around the Earth. We know that a violin is tuned to certain frequencies, certain notes, and when you play it, when a master musician plays it, the instrument stays within that range of frequencies. We know that in order to reach lower frequencies, those bands outside of the range played by the violin, you have to go to a larger instrument. The standing bass, for example. In other words, you have to physically modify it in order for it to play those other frequencies, those other notes, lower notes. The Earth is very similar. The energy that comes into the planet, a lot of it bounces around in the atmosphere, and that is something that can be measured, and it gives us an idea of the environment, the natural environment in which we live. We are constantly inside of this vibration. And here we're not talking about microwaves or the vibration of radio or TV broadcast over the air. Those are artificial. We're talking about the natural state of our bodies, the natural state of the plants. In order to be in this planet, we have to resonate. We need to be in synchrony with those energies of the planet. And how do we know that we are? Because look at the population. The larger the population, the more that those beings thrive within that environment. Insects in this planet, there's lots of insects and they spread like ants. They spread around the world. That means they resonate with this planet as well as we do. So the Schumann resonance gives us an idea of the energy that is coming into the planet Earth. And it, of course, comes primarily from our sun. And we have observed over the last few years, a couple of decades now, that the Schumann resonance has progressively gone higher. That means that there is a higher amount of energy within the planet. And that, you probably heard, is what is pushing the consciousness of ourselves and everything in the planet higher. As the energy rises, so does our consciousness. So does our understanding. Let us look at how higher energy means higher knowing, higher understanding, higher consciousness. We know from science, again, quantum physics, that matter does not exist until it begins to vibrate. So in the vacuum, there is no manifested particles. The temperature of the vacuum is zero, absolute zero, not 0 degrees in Fahrenheit or Celsius, but 0 kelvins. Remember that Fahrenheit and Celsius both go to 0 and then they go into the negatives, but the lowest possible temperature anywhere is 0 kelvins. That's the temperature used by scientists. And at 0 kelvins, the particle is not vibrating. Therefore, it's not manifesting. It can only manifest when it begins to vibrate. And we know that once it begins to vibrate, it literally begins to have a consciousness. Very small one, of course. The higher the vibration, the more the consciousness. Low vibration, low consciousness. And we can look at it as temperature. When we see an item, a fruit that is in the refrigerator, what we have done is we have extracted energy from it. It's vibrating less. Therefore, we have slowed down the maturing process. We've slowed down the natural maturing process. If it was to be outside of the refrigerator, it would be in its natural state and it will be hotter. But there is no such, in science, there's no such thing as hotter. There is such a thing as higher energy content. It's vibrating at with higher energy. Therefore, it's going to spoil faster. This is a little odd concept, but again, you can Google it and see how temperature of any given thing describes or matches the energy within it. But that doesn't tell us how that higher energy could contain a higher degree of understanding. When we talk about a higher degree of understanding, please note that it is essential to be able to have a higher capacity to hold data or knowledge or experience in order to have that higher degree of understanding, that higher degree of consciousness. So the best example to understand that would be to look at a comparison between the compact disc and the DVD. Each one, they're both in this. They both use the same size of acrylic or polycarbonate, I believe it is, with an aluminum layer in the inside. The aluminum layer holds the binary code. In other words, the dots and the spaces needed for the digital translation. But the difference is that the compact disc uses a red laser to read it, and the DVD uses a blue laser to read it. And in that difference in color, there is a difference of billions of times more energy. Red is lower in frequency, therefore is lower in energy. Blue is higher in frequency, is higher in energy. Therefore, the disc that uses the red laser, the lower frequency laser, can only hold a limited amount of data. 1 hour of sound. On the other hand, the DVD, which is read with a blue laser, can hold more than 2 hours of sound plus more than 2 hours of video, which demands a lot more capacity than sound does. We could say that the DVD is exponentially larger in capacity than the CD, and this is only possible because of the difference on the color or the vibration or the frequency of the laser used to read it. We can only extract that higher amount of data, of bits, of information. Our life is very similar. The higher the frequency we are in, the higher our ability to observe, to process what's around us. There's information everywhere, but can you see everything? No, because we're limited in the amount of information we can process. But as we raise our consciousness, we'll be able to capture more information simultaneously so that we can process more and we can understand more. That's the reason why the higher frequency of our planet, the higher frequency of our solar system, the higher frequency of this electron cloud that our solar system is entering, the higher energy means higher frequency, provides us with a higher ability to process information. Just as a DVD has a higher energy laser than the compact disc. But note that this is only going to increase, this higher energy in the environment is only going to increase your consciousness if and when you are ready for it. Not everyone is ready. Not everyone will be ready. The sun provides us with our energy on a daily basis. This energy comes to us, it just looks like light, but remember, it's white light, or it's a broad spectrum light. And within that light, there's red and there's the blue. Remember the laser in the compact disc versus the laser in the DVD. And within those light spectrums, each one holds different blocks of information that comes to us. If you one day feel the need to investigate what ascension means, that means that you have just received the code to awaken to that consciousness level, to that understanding. It's not the end of your ascension, it's only the beginning, it's only a step. And a lot of times it doesn't happen instantaneously, it could happen in steps with a gradient. It slowly could begin to happen. For some, it's suddenly, for others, it's not so. Because it depends on how ready you are. It depends on who you have chosen to be and how you have chosen to be. So the sun provides us with a lot of signals, but we only catch those for us. it doesn't mean that most of that we don't, it doesn't mean that all that which we do not catch, that we have lost it forever. Because the sun, being part of our universe, is always providing the codes for every single one of us. We need to see the universe around us as a very well synchronized and organized dance, where you receive what you need, not necessarily what you want, always. So we catch what matches us, depending on our vibration state, depending on what we choose to be. And remember, we have free will. We have the right to wake up in a high energy state, happy, or choose to be in a low energy state, angry. As we go through this process of higher consciousness, or this ascension in consciousness, we will begin to notice magical moments. In future discussions, I will describe some types of those magical moments. For example, what happens when you change a timeline and you notice it. Others of lower consciousness may have gone through that, but may have never noticed it. And suddenly you do. Again, not everyone is ready. The more consciousness you have, the more miracles you will notice. The more you notice, the more you'll be able to pay attention to, practice, develop. And it's because the higher consciousness, the ascension, will open certain abilities that lay within you, but which you have not exercised before. For example, telepathy. We all have experienced a degree of empathy or knowing of what our loved ones want from us. We may be able to finish other people's sentences, especially those with whom we have a strong connection. But telepathy will begin to open up so that we can, in essence, read the mind of others, whether they're closer to us or not. And where we will be able to also tell them what we feel or what we want to say without speaking a word. This will be especially so with our animal friends, our pets, where they will suddenly understand us without saying a word to them. A similar ability to telepathy is remote viewing, where we can suddenly begin to see what happens in other place and perhaps in another time as well. And with that, we may also improve our clairvoyant abilities, where we can see what's coming, we can feel what's coming. Some people may develop telekinesis, which means the ability to remotely, Kinesis means movement, so the ability to remotely make something move. We may experience it and not know how to control it, but still observe it. I certainly have had those experiences. Even though I don't know how to control it, how to make it happen again. Again, our higher consciousness allows us to pay more attention, to capture more information of our surroundings, and to process more of it and understand more of it. We also may be able to better manifest. Manifestation is the best expression of our free will. Why have free will if we're not able to manifest? But all of these we'll find that work best when we are in a consciousness state that is higher. In other words, higher energy. In other words, when we are in a happy and joyful state. Notice that when you are angry with someone else and they're arguing with you, you'll find many times that you are unable to speak, unable to say the words you wish you could say. You almost seem to have a mental kind of block. That's because when we're in a lower energetic state, it's hard to process. It's hard to know. It's hard to think. It's hard to have any degree of consciousness, of understanding. Likewise, all these abilities, telepathy, remote viewing, clairvoyance, telekinesis, manifestation, and many others, will be enhanced by your ability to remain in that loving, joyful state, in that ascended state. You can now understand why the control system has planted anger and fear everywhere. Anger and fear they are the vibrational state of the low consciousness. If you ever wonder why very angry people act inhumanly, it's because they just lack the consciousness at that time. If they're perpetually in anger or fear, then their life is going to be driven by that low consciousness, that low vibration. Again, it's important to understand that there is free will. In other words, we will respect what others have chosen to be. If they've chosen to be in a state where they're not capturing any of the energy coming through the sun or through the electron cloud, then so be it. Love them for that decision. Celebrate them for that decision. But you're a sovereign being. Loving them for what they choose to be, for their exercise of the free will, doesn't mean you have to tune in to them, participate with them, or be around them. You're a sovereign being. And you too have free will. So you choose the things that will keep you in that love and joy, high vibration, high consciousness state. Select what you consume. Choose the TV that serves you best. Choose the entertainment that serves you best. The politics that serve you best. You may find that there is no TV for you. Turn it off then. Exercise your sovereignty. Don't let that anger and fear come into you, come in your presence. Just like the sun radiates this information that you need, The TV may be full of information you don't need, you don't want. Exercise your sovereignty. In every sporting event, half the stadium is angry, sad, is fearful their team is going to lose. That may not be the energy for you. In politics, there's so much anger. If you vote for this politician, you're going to have a bad life. That's fear. All politicians exercise that. In fact, notice that when you're listening to the politics of the world, of our country, of whatever politics at work, notice how exhausted you feel after the fact. Even if things came the way you thought you wanted them. Remember, the universe doesn't deal with what you necessarily want, but what you need. You may want to know about politics. It may not be what you need. Tune into your body and you'll see what it does to you. You may want to exercise your sovereignty and stay away from certain foods. Under kosher rules, animals must be treated in a different way. They cannot be tortured before they are used as food. Why then do we, the rest of us, those who are not usually looking for kosher food, why do we consume tortured animals? The energy of that torture is within that meat we're consuming. It then comes to us and we make it part of our body. That may not be the frequency that we want to be in. That may not keep us in the love and joy state, even if we don't know it. Remember this. Americans seem fat, but in reality, we're in a perpetual state of inflammation. Our immune system is under constant attack. From all those things that we see and we don't see, both. Exercise your sovereignty. Choose what would you want for the air. If you live in a city where there's constant chemtrails, you may choose to move to a place where there are less so or none. Although I don't know that there's such a thing. Perhaps a different country. Who knows? Select your water. Don't allow your politicians to provide you with poisonous water full of fluoride. Don't allow your dentist to give you poison every time you go to see them. Exercise your sovereignty. And most important, choose your relationships. Tune into your higher vibration, and anything that takes you away from that, make a decision. Use your free will. It is very important to understand that the ascension process is not a date in time. It's a process. Just as infants first develop the desire to walk before they can even crawl, they develop the desire to go to a different place from where they're at. They'll be inside of a room and they'll see the door opening and they'll decide, I want to go to the other side of that door. And that's what helps them begin to crawl. Some infants crawl backwards. It's still working fine. At some point, they will attempt to stand up, more efficient. Like the infant that you are in this ascension process, be patient. It is always best to embrace what the universe brings to you, whether you like it or not, because it's always what you need. Embrace what comes to you, and most importantly, follow your greater joy. The universe communicates with you, your soul, your God, whatever you want, communicates with you in a joyful manner. I just described how joy is how we best can manifest, we best can develop telepathy, and well, that's because joy is the frequency of communication by the universe, by God. So always follow your greater joy. Thank you.